Welcome to the Legal Advice in Paradise podcast, brought to you by www.legaladviceinparadise.com. Even in one of the most beautiful places in the world, life can be litigious. On this podcast, the best and brightest legal minds gather to help you navigate your way through every legal question you may face. This program will help you know your rights, know what steps to take, and help you find the best legal representation, all in simple, easy to understand terms. And now, here's your host, Justine Gronwald.
Aloha, Agents of Change. This is Justine with Legal Advice in Paradise, and I have a special treat today. My guest is Daynin Dashefsky, and we're here today because she's conducting her Hawaii Biz Kids class today, and she was nice enough to have me here to do the interview with the kids. So we just want to have the kids say hi.
Say hi, everybody.
And this is really valuable because what are you teaching the kids today?
We teach kids how to start their own businesses. We teach them how to sell, with the art of selling, not just products, but themselves as well. And we also teach them public speaking. So they're learning all of that on top of learning Jiu Jitsu. So we're basically focusing on mind, body, and spirit, and they're learning all of it. So it's awesome.
Oh, yeah. And then we're going to touch on that a little bit about your Kahala Jiu Jitsu before we get into the meat of our interview, which has to do with a spin-off off of my interview with Martin Shaw about intellectual property, patents, copyrights, and trademarks. But before we get into that, we're going to say, see you later, kids.
See you guys in a bit.
And they're going to be observing while we're doing this so they can learn all at the same time.
Yes, they're going to do interviews themselves. So this is their
fantastic.
Their little classroom. So worked out perfect.
Cool. So give us a little, first of all, Daynin and I went to the same high school.
Yes, we did.
We were classmates.
Nanakuli High School.
Should we say what year?
No, we don't say that. We don't say that part.
We're young forever. But yeah, so we go way back. We're not saying how many years, but we both went to the same high school, and now we're meeting up today because she has a great story to tell about her experience in trademark, copyright, and patents. But I want her to let you know about what she does today.
Well, right now I opened up the very first female-owned jiu-jitsu school in Kahala, which is called Kahala Jiu Jitsu, and it's doing very well. But I also, during the summers, created a program called Biz Kids, where we teach kids how to start their own businesses based on what they're passionate about, things that they can get excited about. And the program's just doing amazing, and they're surprising me at how fast they learn. It's amazing what kids can do when you give them an opportunity.
Kids are, talk about creative, because with my interview with Martin, I talk about people who have creative ideas and when they should protect it, and that's what we're gonna segue into right now. Because Daynin, tell us about your experience as being an inventor, when it happened, and when did you find it was useful to seek legal help?
It's really a long process, and everybody's different in their approach to bringing a product to market or inventing an idea. And the patent and trademark process is something you want to do when you're at the point where you're really going to do something. It's not just an idea. So a lot of people will tend to jump into going to an attorney right away, and there's some benefit to that in the sense of learning what you need to prepare for. But actually hiring an attorney actually comes much later in the process, and a lot of people don't realize that, and they end up spending a lot of money on things that they could have done themselves. And then by the time they get to the real nitty-gritty of the patent and trademark process, they run out of money. And so we work with inventors a lot to teach that process.
Well, let me give us a background of when it came to you. You invented a product, an invention. And tell us what was the root of all that? What were you doing at the time, and when did it get planted into you to go ahead and run with it as an inventor?
Okay, well, when I came up with my first product called the No-Fly Zone, and it's a product that you put on your table when you're eating outdoors, and it rotates around and shoos the flies away from you, like we all do in Hawaii.
Especially in Hawaii.
Yeah, so that was a real educational. The first product is always the educational process, and so when I started getting to the point point where I realized, wow, people really like this, and they really want it, and I should make it. That's when I decided to seek out an attorney, and Martin Shaw was my attorney. He was my very first attorney, and I learned so much from him in the process.
I told you he's a walking brainiac.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And I learned a lot from him, and he taught me a lot. And like anything, when you do it the first time, you make your mistakes. And I realized that from what I learned from him the first time, the next time around, a lot of that I could do myself.
Right.
And I basically, the idea of using an attorney is because they are expensive. You want to be able to do as much of the work as possible before going to an attorney, because you want to be able to use that money for where it really counts. And so it's really important to really know the stage that you're at in a product. And one of the things actually Martin had taught me, which always stayed with me, he says, unless you're absolutely sure you're going to get back at least the amount of money you're going to spend on a patent,
exactly.
Don't do
That's
it.
what he said.
Don't do it. That's one of the first things that he taught me.
Because the reason of being in business is to make a profit.
Right. And if you're not going to, most people get a patent and it ends up being artwork on the wall. They have it so they can say, hey, I got a patent, and it's, but they're broke, because
it's their baby.
Exactly. It's their baby. And like anybody, we're going to spend more money and whatever we can on our babies, because that's the process. But there's a lot of ways you can save money before going to an attorney.
Okay, great.
And I know Martin had talked a lot about patents, trademarks, and copyrights, and those are very, very important to have if you're really sure your product is going to go to market and you're going to make money. But there's a lot of ways you can protect your product before spending all that money. And one of the things that I know Martin knows about, and all attorneys do, it's not a patent, it's called a provisional application.
Provisional
application.
And where do you get this?
You get this from the patent office. An attorney can also file it for you, but it only costs about $100 or $200 to get.
And this is something that you can get online?
You can get it online. You can apply for it at the USPTO, or the United States Patent and Trademark Office. And what it is basically a reservation. When you go to dinner, you make a reservation. Now, if you don't show up, you lose your reservation.
Right.
But if you show up, you take advantage of the reservation. And what I mean is, by paying $100, you're saving your protection date. So let's say if I go to an attorney and he does all the paperwork and he processes the patent and he mails it in, your actual protection date starts from the day of the postmark on the envelope, not when they receive it, because sometimes it takes some time to get to the mail. So the postmark on your envelope is the day your protection starts. Now, a lot of people can't afford to spend thousands of dollars on a patent, so they end up waiting and waiting. Well, with a provisional application, what you do is you reserve your patent date, and it gives you 1 year to file a patent.
Oh, so that's the next question I was going to ask. Now, you mentioned the postmark. That means there's an expiration date to that.
Yes.
And that's exactly 1 year of the postmark?
1 year, unless you file an extension.
Okay,
but
so
you basically have 1 year to file your real patent.
Okay.
So in that 1 year, you have time to either save money or see if people are interested. So what I tell a lot of my clients is, and some of the things I advise is, if, for example, if you're planning to license it to another company, you get a provisional patent, and then you save that date. So you're getting that date early on. So if anybody comes out with it afterwards, you get the priority of that protection date. So you can actually, if your patent is later issued, you can actually sue.
So it's first come, first serve.
Absolutely.
It's the postmark that says I was here first, and that person could have put it in the mail the day after. You still have.
Absolutely.
First.
Absolutely.
Okay.
A good example is Alexander Graham Bell, who invented the telephone.
Oh yeah.
There was another guy who also invented the telephone.
Right after him?
He filed his patent the next day, but he lost it because Alexander Graham Bell did his first. So a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah,
so
that's a great
It's
tidbit.
first come, first serve.
Yeah, so you got to move fast.
You have to move fast. And that's why doing a provisional patent, you're saving the money. You don't have to come up with all the money now. But here's an example. You're planning to license your product to another company. You get that expiration, or you get that date of protection, then you have 1 year to go to another company because you're protected from that date. You go to another company, you try to license it to them. If they decide they want your product, you make them pay for the patent because they can write it the way they want, the way their attorneys want to protect you, rather than you trying to write it and missing something, and then later on they're going to look at your patent and say, well, you're not protecting this, this, and this. By the company doing it, their attorneys will know what to do.
That's what Martin mentioned, is that somebody's on the outside is going to say, well, do you have all this in place?
Absolutely.
Are you in this state? Not only in this state, are you in the U.S.? Not only in the U.S.,
International.
are you international? If the product is going to go that far,
Right.
do you have that all covered? And every country is different.
Every country is different.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's really important to know what you're trying to protect. Now, a lot of people, unfortunately, which is more the case than not,
That's what Martin
everybody
said.
thinks their product is their baby, and that because
Right.
they love it, everybody's going to love
Exactly.
it. But what happens is, because of that connection we have with our babies, right?
Right.
They think it's going to do amazing, and you put all this money and time into this, and in
No.
reality, it's not really a marketable product. It might make
Right.
you a little money, but you spend money going and doing it international,
right.
and that's all premature, because it should go in stages. It should go in stages,
And that's
so
why
that
the
way you're not
1
spending
year,
too much.
the 1 year gives you at least some time.
It does give
We
you
all
time.
know when we're doing something, time goes really quick. So actually 1 year will go quick. So you need to have a plan of
Yes,
action.
and if you're not
within that
done, you
1
better
year.
get an extension filed.
Now, is extension cost money? Does it
Yes,
put
it
you,
costs a little
does
more.
it put you back, or it keeps you in
It's
the
very
same?
minimal cost. It's the same. It might cost you $100 or something.
So it's worth
Again,
it.
prices are always changing, so I don't want to
Yeah,
jump
yeah.
the gun. But
Right.
it's always important to know what the prices are at any given moment,
Okay,
because
okay.
prices at the patent office are always changing. Filing fees are changing. Attorneys' fees are changing. So you just need to really do your research, and that's the hardest part. People don't realize the most important part is do your research. People are, and I hate to say it, but everybody wants everybody to do everything for them, and that's why all these scam artists are out there taking advantage of you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they know you don't want to do it yourself. So
Right.
they're saying, hey, we're going to do it for you. Send us your ideas, and then they take all your money, and in the end,
and
you're
your
like,
idea.
absolutely. And so you're basically spending all your money with them. By the time you're ready to do something, you've got nothing left. And so
Wow.
it's really important to do your research.
And I imagine you learned all these lessons along the way.
Oh, from failing, yes. Years and years of failing.
I do a lot of that.
I teach my students, you learn more by failing than you do
Yeah.
by
and so
by
don't
succeeding.
be afraid. It's just part of it. I mean,
No.
entrepreneurs know that when you go out into the world, when you first start going, you need to understand that there's going to be setbacks. But guess what? You learn from those.
Absolutely.
And you just get better. But you have to have that gumption and the moxie to just say, hey, we're just going to keep going with this. So
people don't realize that big corporations, they factor in what they call research and development. That is their little
R&D.
budget R&D for failing. That's where they're going to make their
Oh,
mistakes. They
that's-
budget the mistakes in there.
I like that where you
No,
say
it's
R&D.
true. It is
equals
R&D.
The mistake
Research and
budget.
development. That's it. And people don't realize there's a certain percentage of whatever the budget is for R&D. And they're not. People know you have to make mistakes, and that's how you get it better, right? But too many people are afraid to try because they're afraid of
Yes.
failing. But
I
that's
mean,
the cost of business.
It is. And so tell us your journey. When you invented the no-fly zone, is that what it's called? What was the journey with that first product? What was that first baby like for you?
Like your first child, you learn everything, and you make your mistakes, and the second time around it's always better, right? And so it was a major learning process. Lost lots of money, but because of that, I learned so much more the next time around, and I lost less money. Then I lost less money. Then it got to the point where I knew so much, and I got so good at it. Now I teach. So
Right.
it's the cost of doing business. It's also, like I say, if you think about it, a lot of my clients say, I lost this money and I lost that money. And I said, you can look at it as a loss, or you can look at it as, okay, these kids go to college for 4 years and they
Right.
spend hundreds of thousands of dollars.
They do.
And I've lost $30,000, and I learned more in what I went through than some of these kids have learned in 4 years of college. So
that's real
it's
life.
always
Yeah.
about comparing it to something positive, and not just bringing yourself down. It's find a way to look positive at it, and to
Right.
be able to have it so you can move on.
Right,
If you
right.
get too depressed, then you don't try again, and that's not good,
Yeah,
because it's
yeah.
the trying that actually gets you better and better and better.
So it's for those with a creative idea, and then on top of that, you have to have that entrepreneurial spirit and know that there's going to be challenges, but there's steps that you can take. So it's like a guideline, right? And
That's why
so-
it's important to do your research. The more research you do, and the more you ask questions, the less chances of you making mistakes, and the less chances of you losing money. It's when you're too lazy. I mean, we're all lazy. We have those moments,
Right,
and we don't
right,
want to do
right.
this, we don't want to do that. But it's important, that you do these things, because that's where you're really going to save money. That's where you're really going to learn, and that's really the key. It's not just coming up with a great idea and everybody loving it and you throwing it out there. It's the process. It's like anything. It's the journey. It's not the goal.
Right. And I know that once in a while I'll hear somebody say, hey, I got something great and I think people can use it. And then you see, I brought this up to Martin, Shark Tank. What is your take on Shark Tank when
I
you watch
actually
that?
worked with Kevin Harrington, who was on
that
Shark
guy,
Tank, and he actually filmed my infomercial.
Oh, cool.
And so I know Kevin personally, and the Shark Tank is great for teaching people that process. But unfortunately, it actually discourages a lot of people as well, because they make jokes.
It's scary, and Kevin will just shoot you right between the eyes and not spare any words.
Right, but there's a lot of products that cannot be, and a lot of businesses that cannot be explained to the highest benefit in a few minutes.
Yeah.
And so they're giving you just a few minutes to share your idea and your passion, and within that few minutes, they're going to judge you. And if you've got a really great idea, but you can't present on TV well enough, and your idea gets shot, then you go back into the real world, and nobody's going to want to touch you. So
you need to think twice before
there's some things that are
on there?
Absolutely, because TV is made for demonstratable products. Things that you can demonstrate, people can see it. You don't have to explain it. You can actually see it and get it. But there's a lot of businesses and products that you can't do that with. So it's really important to know, is my product something that is demonstratable? Is it going to trigger an emotion to get people that are watching to make a decision right now? And that's what they do. They put businesses on there that are not demonstratable, but that doesn't mean they're not good businesses.
Right.
It's the same.
So you probably feel for them when you see them on TV.
I do. And
I do.
Yeah, and you feel for them, but you could have a great business and great product, but you personally are not a good presenter.
So that's the next question I was going to say. Marketing has a lot to do with it.
It has everything to do with it.
Presentation, how you present it.
You could have the worst product in the world, but if you have genius marketing, you'll sell millions, like the pet rock. Right?
Oh, what's that chia thing?
It's chia,
what's
pet rock.
that
No,
all
the pet
about?
rock. I mean, these people, just for a fluke idea, made millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
But then you can have the greatest product in the world, and with the worst marketing or bad marketing, it'll fail.
So how did you learn your marketing?
Trial and error.
Just like me.
Yeah, trial and error. But that's the whole point. You can't be afraid, I once got my very first investor. And how I got him was, I looked at him, I said, there's only one difference between you and me. And he looked at me and he said, what's that? I said, you failed more times than I did. And he was so impressed. Somebody at his level understood that so much that he actually invested in my company over 6 figures.
Wow.
So he knew that somebody who understood that was somebody that was going to go somewhere. So it's really important that people, understand that failing is part of the process. And it's not really failing, it's research and development. It's like
R&D.
Right, it's like
We'll
Edison.
just put a new label to it.
Yes,
It's not
R&D.
failure, it's R&D.
It's R&D.
I just did a big R&D yesterday.
That's it.
Yeah.
But you get off back on your feet and you keep going. And that's why I tell people the most important thing is, if you're going to have a business, if you're going to have a product, if you want to invent something, invent what you're passionate about, because that's what's going to get you through the tough times.
Yes.
Anything else you're going to give up because you get discouraged, you get bored. But if you're passionate about it and you love what you do, you'll keep going even through the hard times.
That's what I hear from so many entrepreneurs, and it's so true. And even if that thing didn't really work out, you always take with you the experience and you can apply it, and you actually create systems now, because if you come across another invention, you know the exact system where you got to do right there. And then in comes the legal side. Let's flip back to the legal aspect of it, of protecting your idea. And at what point do you really recommend that you get the attorney full blown into the process?
When you're actually ready to turn it into a business. It's not just an idea. When you're ready to commit money, time, and energy into a business, that is the time that you go see an attorney. It's not when you're just thinking about it. It's actually, because there's lots of information out there to teach you about the law. The attorney can give you, I have a DVD that you can actually learn everything about patents, trademarks, and copyright.
Tell us about your DVD.
Well, it's the Inventor Starter Toolkit, and Martin Shaw is actually interviewed on the patent, trademark, and trademark DVD. So you can learn everything you want about the process. But what you want to use an attorney for is all the extra stuff that's specifically geared towards your product. It's not, you don't want to pay them to educate you. And if you go to an attorney right off the boat and you don't know anything, you will be paying to ask all these questions for him to educate you, when you could have educated yourself. right? You want to go there with a list of questions, and you want to go boom, 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 and expect the answers.
Be prepared.
Yeah, and I love Martin Shaw. Martin, I love you.
We love
but
you.
Martin loves to tell stories.
Oh, yes, he does.
And he has amazing stories. Martin,
Yes,
you have
he
amazing
does.
stories. But I didn't realize till later that I had to pay for those stories. so be careful of that.
You see, Legal Advice in Paradise got it for free, and we brought it to you.
Lucky, yes.
Yeah.
So I also have another DVD in my series that is a 1-hour DVD with another attorney as well. And it's all about patents and international patents. So these things you can actually learn from material, from DVDs or from books or online.
Well, for your DVD, why don't we do a little shout out and a shameless plug of how you can get the DVD, and then what I'll do is I'll put it in the email to all the members, and also in the description of this podcast, all the resources of where you can get Daynin's DVD. So tell us right now. And
You can contact me at Daynin@Daynin.com.
Okay.
And I can go ahead and set up and make arrangements to get the DVDs to you.
Okay, cool. Cool. But this has been very valuable. Daynin needs to get back to her white biz kids and all
Yes,
the
they're all
great
over there
kids,
waiting
and,
for me.
they're all hanging out over there, and in the back, actually, this is CrossFit, right?
Yeah, this is Kahala CrossFit, and my Kahala Jiu Jitsu studio
Is
is
right
inside Kahala CrossFit.
with the mats.
We take the back area. So
And you know what? When I came in here, she was demonstrating a chokehold. Was that rear naked choke?
That was a rear naked choke.
Rear
yes.
naked choke, because a lot of you may or may not know I was a UFC craze fan at one time. But Daynin, and then a little plug for her class as well. Tell us more a little bit about this before we wrap it up.
Well, Kahala Jiu Jitsu, we're located in Kahala, inside Kahala CrossFit, across from Kahala Mall. And we have programs for women, men, and children. And, we've been here for 4 months now, and
You
we're
guys have
blowing up.
Yeah, you guys
We've
have
just-
taken up. I've seen your Facebook. She's on Facebook as well, and with the kids involved, the adults, and you have the open mat.
Yes,
also?
on Sundays, yes,
On
11
Sunday?
to 1. So people from all different schools come and train with us. And, it's just about, being a part of the community and letting everybody learn jiu-jitsu. And as far as our school, what makes us different is, we say flat out, we're not a fight school, we're a life school. So we're not just looking to create champions in jiu-jitsu, but we're looking
that's
to
a
create
different-
champions in life.
Yeah, and with any kind of sport, especially like this, it takes a lot of discipline. So you learn discipline.
Absolutely.
It's not about rage, it's about controlling movements and
It's submission rest. It's kind of a mixture of judo. Jiu-jitsu is a mixture of judo and wrestling, kind of. And, it's really about learning how to control the body, but mentally being strong as well as physically. So it's mind, body, and spirit,
And
pushing
that-
yourself with the spirit. How
right.
far can you go,
Right.
and learning where your limits are.
and same with entrepreneurs. you know?
Absolutely. They all go together.
They all go together, and she is putting it all together. in your
I'm trying.
classes.
I'm doing what I love, and it's jiu-jitsu and speaking and helping
Right.
entrepreneurs and inventors. And like I said, do what you love. Whether people think they go together or not, we're finding that it works.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much for that invaluable information for those who have an invention or think they have an invention, or just that creative side of you, pen to paper, whatever it is. This is really good tips
Yes.
on how to get started and when to go see an attorney. And even though we love you, Martin, we don't need you all the time. No.
But we still like knowing you're there.
Yes.
But there's nothing wrong with also taking a 1-hour consult and just going in for 1 hour and getting a full consult and having him answer all your questions. So
Right, he mentioned that. But anyway, this wraps up this episode with Daynin Dashefsky, and we thank her so much, and the kids, for being so patient. And we're going to shaka out like we always do on the video, and on the audio we say aloha.
aloha.
Until next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Legal Advice in Paradise podcast. For more information, visit www.legaladviceinparadise.com.